Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Great to see a large group. I know there's a couple of very interesting topics we'll discuss this evening. And with that, if I can ask the council for permission to slightly change the public comment portion, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to have a comment. So if I could ask if there's any objection from council that we have a maximum of 30 minutes per each of the four topics and 3 minutes, well, I guess we'll keep it at 4 minutes, we said, for the discussion, but a maximum of 30 minutes. None of these items will be voted on tonight, so you'll have another opportunity to share those. And we'd love to alternate folks from one discussion to the next. There was an executive session this evening regarding real estate matters with our solicitor. Is there a motion from a council person to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to adopt that agenda.
Thank you. Kathleen, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's kick it right off. The first is a presentation from Kristen Proto and Mary Hutchins from the Garage Community and Youth Center. Welcome. Great institution. We invited the Garage here to kind of share top line what their organization does for our youth.
Good evening. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see all of you. We appreciate your time and just your general service to the community. Offhanded, I'm Vice President of West Grove Borough Council, so I appreciate what all you do behind the scenes as well as sitting at the table tonight. So my name is Kristen Proto. I'm Executive Director at the Garage Community and Youth Center. Our mission is to empower youth to pursue their potential academically, relationally, and spiritually. We have been here in Kennett Square since 2001, and we also have a second location located in Avondale Borough that we have been in for about 3 years now. We serve middle and high school students, majority coming from Kennett Consolidated School District and Avongrove, but we also have Unionville, Octorara, and Avongrove charter students that attend. And many of our students also subsequently attend the Technical College High School out in Penix Bridge. We're open traditional hours Monday through Thursday, which is right after school, 2:30 to 6 p.m., and some opportunities on Fridays and weekends as appropriate. We're also open for a 6-week summer program, which is 11 to 4, more of a daytime program. And we do art offerings and physical wellness offerings, throughout all of that time. We are a pretty small group, so there's 12 of us that run both of those centers full time. We have, in addition to myself, Mary Hutchins is on our development team, as well as Kate Hunson, who could not be here with us tonight. She's on vacation, but otherwise everyone is direct service program staff. Since the beginning of the school year, so the very last week in August of 2024, we have served 462 different students. 85%, so majority are Latino, 78% are eligible for free or reduced lunch. About half of them were born in the United States. A little more than half are immigrating from other countries, Mexico and Central South America, majority. A quarter of our parents of our students do not have a high school diploma. However, education is one of the main reasons that many of our families are here in the community. For more than half of our students, they also don't have any college education. And for about 70% of our households, the parents are Spanish speaking only, to give you an idea of the population that we're serving. Since the beginning of the school year, we have been open for 210 days. That's not including, we have a 6-week summer program coming up that will start in mid-June and run through the end of July. So we are truly a year-round, nearly everyday program for our students. Since the beginning of the school year, we had 12,140 visits. And with each of those visits, we serve a hot meal. So we serve dinner during the school year and lunch during our summer program. We also provide transportation to and from school, and during the summer to and from home. So oftentimes we partner with our schools to get students safely to us, or our staff also pick them up in, you may have seen our very colorful garage vans driving around town to get the students to the center safely each day. And then we have a contract with Craft Bus Company to get the students home at the end of the night. So each day, the kind of a typical program is there's an hour of homework help and tutoring, supporting our students to succeed academically, to finish school on time, and to finish school well to the best of their ability. In addition to that, transportation and meals. Each center has a physical wellness room we call the Body Shop, because we're very into branding and making things very garage-like. So our students have access to weightlifting gym, physical activities, and nutritious meals each day for their physical wellness. And we have in our Avondale location, we have a makerspace program, which is essentially an art studio, creative use space where students have the opportunity to 5 days a week have access to resources, supplies, and a full-time artist who works with them to have a creative outlet. In addition to those kind of daily offerings, we have a program called MAPS, which is essentially future planning. So our graduate coordinator works with our high school students to kind of determine what are their interests, what are their passions, what would they like to do after high school, and helps them to explore whatever opportunities those are. So whether that's going to a trade, military service, going to a university or college, or going right into the workforce, our staff really walk alongside our students to explore those opportunities and to go outside and find those resources that can help them in their post-secondary years. We also offer a curriculum through the Department of Health that we have a contract with that is really essentially, it's called the TOP program, but it's essentially prevention of risky behaviors, but also encouraging students to make wise decisions about their future and to be hopeful for a positive future. Additionally, we do community service opportunities. So I know we've done things with the borough, we've done things with Kennett Trails, CACs, other organizations in the community. So far this year, we've served 2,250 hours to the community, which is roughly 3 months of service to helping out nonprofits in our community and giving our students an opportunity to showcase their strengths, the ability they have to go out and serve and not only come to the garage and be served. In addition, we have a small performance art program, which at the end, we have a short video that team put together we wanted to showcase. Our makerspace provides weekly art therapy sessions with our current artist who is completing her licensure in art therapy. And this year, one of our newer additions was a robotics team that was formed at the beginning of the school year and competed in 3 competitions this past year. And they placed 3rd in their first one. So a very exciting new addition. We also have a contractual partnership with New London Counseling Center. So we have therapists that can come on site. They meet with students once a week in each center. So if students are experiencing mental health concerns, behavioral issues, they can sign up free of charge and see a therapist in our buildings once a week. Additionally, we have a partnership with the Chester County Intermediate Unit Driver's Ed Services out at Penix Bridge campus as well, where we will pay for students to go and study for their permit tests, take their permit tests, get their driving hours completed, and they can also do their testing out at Penix Bridge. So this past year, we had 36 students enroll. 31 have their permits, and there are 15 new licensed drivers from the garage out there on the road. And then we're getting into our summer program now as school's wrapping up in the next week or two. We have a summer internship program called Career Compass, and that's an opportunity where we hire students from the community, and then we look for business partners, nonprofit partners. The borough was actually a host site for a student a few years ago for students to go out into the world and get real hands-on professional job experience. So this gives them an opportunity not only to, have a first professional job, but have something that's in their career interests, whatever their passion might be. Our goal at the beginning of that program is we ask kids, like, what's your dream job? What do you want to do? And then we try to find the closest thing to that we can in Southern Chester County. And we pay the students, we transport them, and it's really a very holistic program for them to have that first step into the workforce. It gives them a mentor in their specific career path, and we hope someday maybe a future employer for them. We So we do a lot of stuff. Obviously, I just rattled off like 5 minutes of activities. But one of the things that we take very seriously is trying to understand what do we do and what works and what doesn't, and learn and evaluate our programs. So at the beginning of each school year, we have a survey that we hand out to students. And at the end of the school year, we hand out the same survey and see how we did. So this past year, this is just like a snapshot of some of the outcomes that our students have expressed. So above and beyond, doing well in school, getting good grades, completing school, completing their grade, graduating high school, we want our students to be well-rounded residents of our community. So we look at things like, are they making good decisions? Do they understand their community? Do they feel good about themselves? Do they feel like they're important? And there's a list of other things here that I'll let you guys read and not go through, but we take it very seriously to understand our students and who they are, and is what we do important to them? Is it working? And how can we continuously improve ourselves and improve the way that we provide services to our students and to the broader community? And it's not just for students. So we have, in the last few years, really built a more robust parent program. So each site has a parent coordinator. So not only are they enrolling students and connecting with parents on kind of our day-to-day schedule and the opportunities, but they're asking parents, how can we support you? What do you need? How can we help you to support your students so they can be more successful? So in this past school year, we've had 129 parents attend workshops. Some of them are one-time monthly kind of resource educational workshops, but we've also had ongoing classes. We've partnered with CACS to have a Getting Ahead class that's run 2 sessions at the garage. The Chester County Food Bank has held Eat Fresh, which are cooking classes, partner with the garage where they can also receive free food from the food bank. They get resources at those classes. We partner with Strengthening Families, which talks about how parents can talk to their students, how they can be involved in adolescent life, and what are some of the issues that they might see within their students that they need support with. And we need resources to make that happen. So this is our budget from 2024. Obviously, we're still in 2025, but we were at $1.3 million was our revenue in 2024. It's a pretty colorful, diverse pie chart, and that's our goal, is to, as much as we can, rely on not one single income source, but to really diversify. One, to ensure that we're not kind of beholden to one large federal grant or one large entity, but also, for us, it's confirmation that there's buy-in from a lot of different stakeholders in the community, whether that's individuals or businesses or foundations or government contracts. So this gives you, a little snapshot of how we make all that work happen. And then as far as government revenue, this past year, we had a few different opportunities, mostly state, but there is one county grant. We partner with the Chester County Workforce Development Board, which helps fund our summer internship program. But these are, some of the other sources of that government revenue that we were able to secure. And we appreciate all of your support. There's some individuals in the room who support us and your businesses that you represent. So we're really grateful for that, obviously financial support, but just support of the borough in general. We've always had a great partnership with the borough. I think we've been, if and when opportunities arise, have been good partners to one another. So we're really grateful for the 24 years that we've been here in Kennett Square Borough. So we thank you. Here's 2 small student vignettes. Kevin was actually one of the student who worked with Kyle at the borough. He was interested in accounting at the time, which I'm happy to report he is just about to graduate from Kennett. He's going to Lehigh with a full scholarship. So, and he additionally got about, I think it was $12,000 from Kennett High School, their awards night. So not only is he having his entire college degree paid for by the institution, but he gets to have a little buffer there to help with books and expenses. So just an amazing young man that, came to our program for several years. As well as Coral, who is a graduate. She just recently the garage took a group of 10 students to the Ushley Conference, which is the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute. We took 10 students out to Chicago in February, where they were able to participate in that conference. And that was one of her greatest highlights of the year, was participating in that. And if you'll permit me, we have just like the most amazing students. So whenever I'm given the opportunity, I like to bring one of them. But if they can't, then I like to share their words to you, because I think that most accurately highlights what we do. So I'm going to read a little bit from a student. Her name is Pamela, and she's just about to graduate. So I'm going to skip ahead, but she speaks a little. She came to the United States when she was 16. So teenager moving to a different country, can imagine the feelings and the stress of that. But she says, one day my dad told me about the garage, a place where other Hispanic students gathered. And to be honest, I wasn't interested. I had no idea what they did there, and I didn't feel like going. But I finally went, and I met people from my country who spoke Spanish and didn't judge me, people full of light and life. Seeing other people with roots like mine made me realize that maybe this was my place. And since that day, the garage became one of those meaningful parts of this journey in my life. Academically, it gave me the motivation I needed to keep going. Through the tutoring meetings and college visits and events, I found not only academic help, but a supportive environment where I wasn't afraid to ask questions or admit I was struggling. I started to participate in class more, raising my hand without fear of making mistakes or being worried about how my accent sounded, and setting higher goals for myself. I realized that being a bilingual immigrant was a strength and not a weakness. The garage gave me hope. I started to believe again that my dreams were possible and weren't unreal. I remember one night at a fundraising event, standing in a room filled with hardworking and successful Latinas. That night changed me because I no longer saw my journey as a burden, but as a privilege. I realized I wasn't just here for myself. I was here for my family, my younger siblings, for every person who ever thought they didn't belong because where they came from. That moment made me feel like I had a purpose and like I was walking towards something bigger. The garage helped me transform my fears into fuel, my sadness into strength. I still miss home every day, but now I understand that I carry home within me. I found a way to embrace my new life while honoring where I come from. The garage reminded me that I don't have to choose between being Mexican and being successful in the US. I can be both. I'm still learning, still growing, but I no longer ask myself if I belong here. And thanks to the garage, I know that I do. So that's just what we hope to accomplish with all of our students. So I'm happy to be able to share her words with you tonight. So that's it. That's us. That's the garage. My contact is on here. Probably the best way to keep up with us is social media. We're way better at that than our website. But you can contact Mary or myself or Kate, who's our development director. And if we can get the video to play on the last slide, our performance art team put this together most recently.
It's a short video.
2 minutes, 21 seconds.
Les presento
The Garage is a youth development organization. We serve middle and high school students in Southern Chester County.
The Garage is an after-school program where we provide support with education, and we also do mentoring, where students can have the opportunity to build a relationship.
The Garage is a safe place for young people to come and express themselves and learn more about themselves.
El Garage para mí es un hogar donde los estudiantes pueden venir para explorar su creatividad.
Para mí el garage es el espacio donde todos nuestros estudiantes deben de sentirse seguros y donde tienen que encontrar la oportunidad de cada día ser mejores.
We also provide an gym where students have the ability to learn about eating healthy, exercising and using the right machines and building their body as they want to continue to succeed.
Sí, claro que sí. En el garage, los niños y las niñas que asisten pueden soñar.
Definitivamente porque quien no tiene sueños no, no llega a ningún lugar.
Yeah, well, I think, oftentimes boredom is no longer provided for kids and not, I think sometimes they need some space away from screens and devices, to explore other parts of reality.
We're really lucky, I think, like we get to really have this special place where we can help them figure out the next steps in their life.
Kristen?
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter.
Chris,
Let's
thank you very, very much for sharing the garage's story with us. I know since its inception, I think started by the John Bontrager family, as well as a youth minister in the area. It's been an incredibly valuable resource for our middle school and our high school kids. Some of my kids went there, and we're grateful for what you, Mary, the staff do, and all the volunteers do for our kids. If someone sitting here tonight or on the Zoom tonight wants to do something to help the garage's mission out, what can they do? How can they do that?
Sure. So we're always looking for volunteers, especially with summer coming up. We get very busy having the students there all day. So if you have the time and the interest, you can go on our website and sign up to be a volunteer at either of our centers. We always need the resources to make this work happen. So monetary donations can be made on the website as well as item donations. So we have an Amazon wish list, some of the things that we use regularly, and some special things for specific programs. You can support us that way. So, and then just keep up with us on social media and what's going on, and you'll see other opportunities throughout the year.
Terrific. Thank you so
Thank-
very much
thank
for
you.
coming out tonight. We appreciate it. Unless there's any council comment, let's get right into the second topic, which is Art on the Greenway, the mural project. Kristen? Christina, I'm sorry, Norland.
Hi, everyone. I also have Natalia Santiago here with me. She's our Director of Community Engagement. So we're really excited to be here today to talk to you about a new collaboration that we are engaged in with a Square Roots Collective and an artist known as Kala Hagopian from West Philadelphia on a really exciting public art project. This year, we have been embarking on a program called Art on the Greenway. And our idea is that we want trails and the Greenway to feel accessible, feel like you're welcome when you're there, no matter where you're from. And we believe that art in some ways is a universal language, and art can bring us together and kind of teach us different things and enable us to engage in conversations across all sorts of walks of life. And so we're really excited as part of that project to be engaging in different arts initiatives. Natalia has been working hard with a lot of different community organizations where people in the community are designing banners that are going to get hung up on the Greenway over the summer. But our signature project for this year is actually going to be the installation of 4 freestanding murals along the Greenway as part of Hagopian Arts Echo Mural Initiative. A similar project, which you see on the screen here, was completed for Bartram's Garden in Philadelphia. So a little bit about Kala. She is a female muralist. She's pretty renowned. You can see her art all over the country, including places like the Philadelphia Airport, the John Hines National Wildlife Refuge. And in her words, she really focuses on imagery inspired by nature and juxtaposes highly rendered realism with vibrant geometric patterns and atmospheric elements. So you can see some of that up here on the screen. And one of the things that she is at the forefront of is really looking at public art from an environmentally focused lens through her Eco Mural project. This is an ongoing series of murals that are designed to inspire awareness and action on environmental and cultural issues. You get to be immersed in sort of the beauty of at-risk ecosystems while addressing concerns about environmental degradation and biodiversity loss. So all of these are the focus of these different murals that she has put together. And a percentage of all of the proceeds that she gets for completing the mural, she actually donates out to organizations that support pollinators. So there have been 22 eco murals to date that have been installed throughout different locations. And we, Kennett Square, are actually going to be the location of a set of murals that will be the 23rd eco mural. And these 4 murals are going to be installed along the Greenway, and in particular along the portion of the Greenway that runs along the east branch of the Red Clay Creek. So think Anson B. Nixon Park down to Legacy Fields. They're going to serve as, and you can see also like similar ones that were put up in Bartram's Garden up there on the screen again. But they'll serve as like wayfinding markers along the trail, and hopefully be able to get people excited about all the local flora and fauna that are featured in those murals. She also will be exploring cultural and historical significance of these plants and animals to the Kennett Square region, and incorporating medicinal plants that are used by indigenous people, and showcasing their healing properties and the importance of them ecologically to our ecosystems. So how does she do all that? Well, in addition to the mural itself, there's a QR code that goes with each mural that allows you to go into a web page that allows you to learn about the different flora and fauna that are featured in the mural, as well as the conservation efforts, the local partnerships within this community that are working on preserving those ecosystems, as well as details on the mural making process and the community engagement piece. So a little bit about how they're constructed. So these are freestanding, so they're not applied to a wall, and they're painted on like a polytab material, think like stuff that parachutes are made out of, and then they're adhered onto a metal backing that are then going to be installed on these freestanding stands. And while they are put into the ground, they are designed so that they can be removed and relocated if that was necessary. And we're also ensuring that they're all coated with an anti-graffiti top coat that prevents those murals from being damaged. And the borough does not or will not be bearing any cost of the installation or maintenance of these murals. This is a project that is purely a gift to the community by Square Roots Collective and Kennett Trails Alliance. So a little bit more about the process of creating the murals. Natalia is going to tell us a little bit about the community engagement that goes into their creation.
Yeah, so Kala has a unique community engagement. She does paint by number, as the murals are flexible, made in like parachute materials. So we love to create community engagement and show a sense of ownership to the community. And this is a great way to do it. We're going to be having 2 workshops in partnership with her and other organizations in the community. The first workshop will be at the end of June, where we're going to actually partner up with the Garage and Mighty Riders and allow the youth to have a yoga art experience where they get to experiment the wellness, but also experiment the art. Kala will be leading those in that. And then the second one, which we want to invite everybody to, will be Saturday, July 26th. This will be in partnership with Kappa at Anson B. Nixon Park. It's going to be an art community picnic. What best way to bring the community together? An art experience and food. So you actually will get to be part and paint those murals, and we love to create that sense of ownership with those.
So I don't know if any of you were at the Hispanic Heritage Festival last year, but a similar project was done there. And basically, she has already drawn out the murals, and every section is labeled with a color that corresponds with a paint color that she's already pre-mixed. And so you're able to actually paint these murals, and then she'll touch it up at the end. But it's super exciting that you get to kind of be part of it and have your art permanently displayed. So if people want to learn more about her or about us, there's some contact information. But I also wanted to reveal 2 of the 4 murals here today to everyone and talk a little bit about them. So these are 2 of the murals that are going to be installed. The one on the left features, and these are sort of Kala's descriptions of what was intended by each of these. So the one on the left features canopy and nectar pollinators, and it's designed to kind of talk about what lies at the canopy level of the forest, at the top of the trees, as well as within the forest themselves. So you can see in this one there is bee balm, which was used medicinally by Lenape as tea and an antiseptic. There's also butterfly weed, which is a host to the monarch butterfly. You have a ruby-throated hummingbird. The monarch is featured in this prominently, which is a nod to the Kennett Square story of immigrants since as long as we've been here as a community. You have the bumblebee, as well as the marigolds, which are Hispanic, very key in Hispanic heritage and cultural celebrations, such as Dia de los Muertos. In addition, you see there's a hexagonic, I can't say this word, hexagonal, we're going to go with that. Yes. Pattern that is also inspired by Lenape beadwork, as well as the colors that are in the background. This is a deep blue, the brick red, all of that is inspired by Lenape beadwork and is designed to create, as Kala says, a sacred geometry around the pollinators. The background here is gray, but in reality, these will be cut out with the shape that you see. And then mounted on that metal frame. In panel 2, you're going to see we've now gone from the canopy down to the shrub layer with insect and bird connectors. And she really wanted to talk sort of about the hospitality that the shrub layer provides to these birds and insects, and also how they all take care of each other. And so you'll see in this, there's staghorn sumac, which is a winter food for birds. That's the red, sort of at the vibrant red leaves and the fuzzy fruit cones that are kind of at the top there. There's elderberry, which is the white flowers, and the purple berries, which supports pollinators and birds. In the background, there is spicebush. You can see the American goldfinch that's flying across the panel. And one of the things that's interesting about that is that the goldfinch is not just a seed eater, but also a disperser of seeds. So you see that element of ecosystem and hospitality. The cedar waxwing is up in the top as well. Also has a whole bunch of fruit sharing behavior. There's a longhorn beetle that's hiding down in the right corner, which is a pollinator of the elderberry. And then the blue leaf accents, once again, are stylized in reference to Lenape patterning. In addition, that diamond lattice in bright white has a very strong visual rhythm. And Kala was saying that her goal with that was to symbolize movement, direction, and layered connectivity across ecosystems and sort of the different cultural stories that exist in our community. So that's a little bit about where we're headed with the murals. You have, obviously, we've talked about the canopy and then the sub layer, the shrub layer. So you can imagine with the next 2, we're probably getting closer down to roots and earth and the forest floor. So we look forward to revealing more about those murals in the coming months as we get closer to the public workshops. So does anyone have any questions?
When would the install date be? Are you guys?
Yeah, so the install would be in October and November timeframe. We don't have any literature with us, but we're happy to have this posted on the borough notes. And then also there's this information up here, which can lead you to the website with more details.
Any council manager, mayor comment? Any brief public comment? Christine and team, just want to say once again, the Square Roots Collective thanks for leading an effort to beautify Kennett Square, really out of the generosity and kindness of your heart and the affection for Kennett Square. Thank you very much. What are those dates?
So the first one is the end of June, and then the second one will be July 26th. So it will be Saturday, July 26th at Anson B. Nixon Park.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm guessing that more than one person came out this evening for the next topic on the agenda, which is truck traffic on State Street. About 2 months ago, the council wanted to re-engage the town on this topic. There's a balance that we all have to recognize of the pros and cons that come with this topic. It might be nice and easy to say, hey, let's stop trucks on the street, but that has a huge impact on the businesses that not only rely on those trucks showing up every day, but also those that are dependent upon that truck traffic, like Manfredi's just down the street a little bit. So we've got to be very careful about the impact and the consequences. Those may be both wanted and unwanted on this. But we'd love to get some feedback from folks in the audience on the topic and to see where that leads the council. There's no direct action tonight. It's really where does this go and what's the next move or moves we should take as a result of this discussion we're going to have shortly. But first, before we do that, what we'd really love to know are what the facts are, what's possible, what's not possible. So we've invited our local expert, our borough engineer, Mike Ellis of Pennoni Engineering, to share the process and the realities of what we can and can't do. Mike?
Sure. Thanks, Bob. So, I'll just start with an overview. Title 75 of the PA Code gives municipalities the right to regulate truck restrictions on local roads. So I'll just walk through what that process looks like and some different alternatives that can be considered for to implement truck restrictions. So the discussion here is primarily to date with the Public Safety Committee has been focused on State Street and Cypress Street. So we've done a little bit in advance of this to kind of educate ourselves on what the conditions are out there and what the options are. So I'll walk through a little bit of what we've done so far and what some of the alternatives are moving forward. So PennDOT, or the PA Code basically allows municipalities to restrict traffic based on well, first of all, it allows municipalities to restrict traffic on local roads on their own. So without necessarily having an engineering study done. In general, it is recommended to have an engineering study done that's signed and sealed by a professional engineer. In the event that it gets challenged in court, that you have that as backup in order to substantiate the reason why the restriction is there. So there's generally 3 ways to restrict truck traffic. It's loading, so capacity, geometry, or basically historical road conditions, or past experience. So the capacity is the first one that we took a real quick look at, which would be the condition of bridges. So there are a couple of bridges that run under State and Cypress. They're owned by PennDOT. So we did pull the PennDOT inspection reports. They do not have any load ratings associated with them. So the bridges are not an option for, well, they already would have been posted if there had been a need. So the bridges are not a mechanism for restricting the truck traffic on those 2 roads. This other item in that regard is the pavement condition. So analyzing if the pavement can actually carry the weight of heavier vehicles. We didn't do any detailed analysis in that regard because we know that State Street is underlaid for the most part by concrete, and it has a very substantial pavement section that we're quite certain is, when we run the numbers, it would have plenty of capacity. Cypress Street, we expect the same. There's not evidence of, any severe problems with the pavement. So the capacity is not considered to be an option as it relates to the borough's two roads. Past experience is, I'm not going to get into that one. That would just be looking at other roads that are similar in nature in other municipalities that have not had a issue or that don't substantiate the capacity or the geometry restrictions, but have other reasons why trucks have been prohibited in the past. That's more of a subjective criteria. So I'm not going to dive into that one, but the geometry is sort of what we can focus on here. So the geometry is going to be your length, height, width, and there's no height issues. We don't have any bridges or overhead signs. We know that there have been some issues with some vehicles hitting some trees and things, but again, we don't have a tunnel or anything like that that provides a height limit. The length is typically the preferred way to regulate truck traffic because it's the easiest for the police to enforce. So it's very easy for the police to go out and to measure the length of a truck to determine if it's too long and that it can't make turns along the road. It's obviously much more difficult if you try to put a weight restriction in place. You got to have a scale. You got to have somewhere to pull over within the municipality. That's much more challenging. So the geometry is generally the preferred method. As far as length goes, that's looking at your turning movements. When a truck's coming down the road, is there a severe turn that requires them to move into the opposing travel lane in order to navigate? Obviously, that's an extremely unsafe condition that would warrant truck restrictions. State and Cypress, for the most part, are pretty straight. So we haven't run turning movements on it yet, but we don't expect that's going to provide any limitation on trucks. So what does, though, is the width. So we went out and we've done some measurements on both roads. So State Street measures in a few different locations. It measures about 36 feet wide, curb to curb. 8-foot parking spaces on either side leaves 20 feet of travel lane. Divided by 2 is 10 feet per travel lane. Per PennDOT's technical guidance from the LTAP program, this is document number 194. It does state that some factors that could restrict larger vehicles include lane widths on the road are 10 feet or less. So the geometry of State Street in particular does lend itself to a truck restriction in relation to widths. Cypress Street is a little more analysis would be needed there. Obviously, there's not parking on both sides of Cypress Street. So the average travel lane there ends up being about 11 feet wide, which is a little bit more marginal for the truck, for the width restriction. But the conclusion of all that is that there does, from our initial evaluation, is that there does appear to be a valid case, engineering study that could be provided in relation to the geometry to restrict trucks, particularly on State, and further analysis could be done if necessary on Cypress. The other thing we've done is we've looked at crash history a little bit. There's been a lot of accident history along both roads over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. In particular, over the last 18 months, there have been 7 cases of side swipes of vehicles on the road and a few issues of turning movements in which trucks are moving from one road, for example, Cypress onto Union or Union onto State, or another road between Cypress and State, and trucks have to maneuver from the right-hand lane across the left lane in order to maneuver, and ends up being a collision. So again, the crash history supports that, and supports concerns and the potential for truck restrictions as well. So there's a form. It's called a TE 109 form. It's PennDOT's the process that PennDOT has requires if you were to try to restrict trucks on a PennDOT road. The recommendation is in the industry and from PennDOT is to use, even for a local road, is to follow this same procedure in order to make it defensible should it ever be challenged. And essentially that's getting into what I just discussed with the geometry and the crash history. So again, we have not done that study beyond just taking a quick measurements and just kind of some numbers that I'm presenting here. But like I said, we do feel that that is something that could be substantiated. So a few other things to consider, though, that can be done regarding truck traffic. and or well, so first of all, if we are going to restrict, if truck traffic is going to be restricted on the local roads, we got to make sure that there's an alternative route for trucks to get wherever they need to go. So that is something that needs to be looked at closely. Obviously, Newark Road, if traffic's on Route 1 right now, Newark Road is another option to get off, but that's limited to truck traffic itself already. So there does need to be an evaluation as to what is the alternative routes for trucks to get wherever it is that they're going, that they're coming through the borough for. So that's critical. And we would also typically suggest meeting with local businesses and the the truckers that are coming through the borough to also request, well, two things. One is voluntary compliance if they have another alternative route that they could take without putting the restrictions in place to see if that's an avenue, and also to find out what their needs are for deliveries and otherwise, to make sure that whatever is being restricted here is done so in a way that businesses and others are still able to accommodate their needs. There can always be a permitting process, which would be pretty typical in any place that has truck restrictions, whether it's PennDOT or local municipalities, that applicants can apply for a permit, whether it be temporary or long-term, subject to certain conditions to allow for trucks to come through. Examples of that could be a one-time basis for a specific community event. It could be a condition that trucks be limited to a certain size, so maybe it's 40 feet instead of 67 feet. Another option is hours, that it be, say, after 9 p.m., between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m., when there are less vehicles parked along the road, there's less traffic that generates this safety risk. So there are those avenues that can be provided as exceptions should a restriction be put in place. We will need to involve PennDOT in this process as well. Even though these are not PennDOT roads, any restriction here is going to have signage out on Route 1 to provide alternative direction. So in order to put up signage on Route 1, that's a state road, we got to have to involve PennDOT in that process. So more than likely, they're going to end up having input on this entire process once we've sort of invited them in regards to the signage. We have Public Works has reached out to the PennDOT Municipal Services representative in regards to this to kick off the process. They directed us to another department within PennDOT. We have been in touch with them to request further discussion on the topic. So we've had some initial feedback, but we're working with them to get some feedback as to what else they may get involved with in this process beyond what I've described so far. So if it does go to the point of implementing a formal restriction, the process is that it gets adopted by the borough via ordinance, signs get put up, and then enforcement occurs. A permitting process can be put in place for exceptions, and you can also put out contact navigation apps, so Google Maps, Apple, Waze, to have them take those roads off of their truck routes. So that obviously that's a lot of the way that truckers are navigating or through those apps. So there's a mechanism then also to try to control the truck traffic in that fashion. So that's everything I wanted to, I guess, present as an initial sort of food for thought and some background on this. I'm happy to take any questions or any other discussion you may want to have.
Thank you very much, Mike. We'll certainly get into it. If I could ask you to hold on just 1 minute. We certainly have a chief who can answer some questions, our solicitor, Mr. Karate, and our manager to kind of hop in and answer questions as well. Again, as Mike said, the borough owns the portions of State Street that are in the borough as well as Cypress Street. We don't own Route 82 or Union Street that goes through the borough and then turns in front of the high school. But there's a process that has to be gone through as well. So it's not the borough alone, and we certainly need PennDOT's support and allowing, I guess, ultimately to do that. So with that, let me ask if there's any council or mayor comment before we get into public comment. Council? Please.
Mike, I don't remember if you were on this or not, but about 12 years ago, we had a regional traffic planning group that I was on. I represented the borough on, which impacted Kennett Township, then all the way out to Avondale Borough. So there were five municipalities. I don't remember if you were there with us or not, but we spent 2 years working on truck traffic and traffic planning from the area. And obviously the conclusion was that improving the intersection of Newark Road and Baltimore Pike was by far the key to dealing with traffic in the borough, because then we could really push the truck traffic, the through truck traffic that were generally going out to services in New Garden Township or Kennett Township on the far west side, that solving that intersection was the most important thing. At the time, it is my understanding that all of the right-of-ways that were necessary were obtained along Baltimore Pike, and you may have been on New Garden Township Council then, all the way up to Manfredi's. I believe all the right-of-ways were in, the design work was done. We even had Senator Bob Casey came out in person with his staff and pledged federal funds to help make this better. And we were told at the time that we were somewhere between 6 and 7 years on down PennDOT's list to get the work done. Is there a way to check to see if any of that, where that project might stand? Not just, I can certainly call New Garden Township and find out, but does PennDOT keep an active list? I mean, they told us the project was, at the time, they said the project was approved, the design was approved, and it would be 6, 7 years down the list. Do they really maintain a real list?
Seems like it's always 5 years out, right?
Yeah.
Now, my typical method would be to reach out to somebody at PennDOT, one of our contacts there, to find out for sure. I mean, we've heard rumors that it's a couple years out at this point now, but I personally have not heard that definitively. I don't know if anybody else has.
Go ahead, Rob.
Microphone, please, Ron. There's a lot of folks on the internet tonight on Zoom, so we'd like you, if you're going to comment, to come up to the microphone, to come up to the podium and use the microphone. Rob?
I received a call from Representative Sappy's office to let me know that it was funded and should occur in 27.
In 27, okay. A little more than the 6 years they promised us. But at the same time, that would alleviate. Then the discussion came with PennDOT that they could mandate through traffic to stay on Route 1, that they would put signage in front out by the Walmart, mandate through traffic and restrict State Street to local deliveries only. But they had to fix that intersection before they could feel comfortable with it. So that would help. We did work with Manfredi's and South Mill and others on the wayfinding issue. And what they explained at the time, which I think is incredibly valid, they don't generally know, and a lot of the drivers don't know that they're coming there until they get dispatched there. That the dispatch of large trucks almost operates like Uber, in a sense that there is a load to be picked up at Manfredi's and it goes into a system and it spits out the closest driver who may have dropped something off in Wilmington or Newark. So they're not getting wayfinding sent to them. They're plugging in this address. They said that the vast majority of the drivers that come in are once every other month type driver. In other words, it's not the same drivers doing the same deliveries that it operates there. So we talked about wayfinding signage out on Route 1 to make recommendations. But again, they also held us to not until the Newark Road intersection was improved. So I think there are some positive things to come if we can get Newark Road finished. But I wanted folks to know that that the design was done, it was approved, and it was kind of on that list. And that wayfinding is a problem. Maybe we can get Google Maps and those things fixed, but truly most of the drivers that come in and the company that's buying the produce or making a delivery or buying mushroom, whatever it is, they're not using the same drivers, right? They go into a database of the closest driver who's willing to go from point A to point B, and they grab them. And that's because we were working on driver instructions. Like, we have no idea until 15 minutes before they arrive who's actually coming.
Public comment. Again, come up to the microphone if you would, please. Please limit your comments to 4 minutes, and we'll limit the overall comments to 30 minutes. And there are a couple of folks online that if they'd like to throw a question out, Rachel, I'll ask you to read those out. Ma'am, please.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Vicky Slazinski. I'm an Army veteran and currently serves as the Adjutant and Finance Officer for the William W. Fahey American Legion Post, which is located on the corner of 208 East State Street and Church Alley. The post has been occupying this building for 100 years, and this is our birthday. So I'm here to express two concerns regarding the Church and Apple Valley parking lot possible.
That's the next presentation, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, we just.
for this part. Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't.
Not a problem. Are there any other public comments? Mike, would you mind handing the mic to John, please?
Thank you. John Thomas, 406 South Broad. It's very ironic. I used to own a trucking company with my brother for 5 years. We did all about driving and waiting, and
John, you're such a
all
Renaissance
that
man, aren't
stuff.
you?
The best thing you can do is, one, restrict the size of your trucks, and you ought to be able to look at them and tell them whether they're, how long they are. You can permit local traffic, and you can stop trucks from turning on State Street, either from Broad or South Union. Say no turns on State Street, but neither one of them are any good. I've seen them knock over signs for years. I was on council when the guy got killed, and I was up there and saw him. They drug him for 1,000 feet. He didn't look very good when we got there. And the truck driver never even knew he hit him until somebody stopped him, because the rear tires got him. So there are a lot of things that can be done. And the other thing is, you got to start using your stops to, most companies will overload truckers. And it's up to the trucker to not get caught. If you are, and I tell you, we went from Florida to California. We knew what towns to stay out of, because we couldn't control. We wouldn't have a job if we were picking up chickens and taking them to Florida. You took the load they gave you, and they always overloaded you, and then it was on you. So you knew where to miss the stops, the way stops and the checks. And you got to start doing that, because you get a reputation. And once you get a reputation, you'll be surprised how many trucks won't come through Canada. You'll have your ones that need to be here. And I wouldn't worry about Manfredi. They can go to do South Street. There's a lot of ways they can go until Newark. You can't let them all through town. They're hurting this town. They're hurting the roads. They're hurting cars. They're hurting people. Truckers, it's an honorable profession. My brother drove over 4 million miles, but it's a toughie. And you have to go on schedules, and you can schedule. You can't drive if you're going to let them go through State Street. Can't let them come through the noon time or 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. You can restrict them for those hours. Your heaviest traffic. If you want, you can say, all right, no truck traffic at all between 12 and 1, and from 4 to 6 or 7. They can make their deliveries before or after that. And there's a lot of things you can do, but you got to do it. And one of them is stopping trucks and checking them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. I'm concerned for a lot of reasons when you say trucks, because
Name and address or affiliation, sorry. Thank you.
I'm concerned when you say trucks for a lot of reasons that you're worried about them. First off, the one fatality and the one many, many years ago when someone's face got very much hurt, is that these people tend, pedestrians, to try to walk close to a truck. And both of those instances was that. Okay, so let's get that straight. The truck driver did not hit them. All right? It was an accident because of walking
collision together when the man's going past you. You gotta wait. Also on Union and Cypress, you can make that turn. My family were truck drivers. My Uncle Kenny drove for whatever they are up there. Get the name of them right now. Up to Phillips. Just died at 90 and was still working in their field drive last year. Okay? And why you can't take that turn at Union and Cypress is because of the setback. The cars are not as far back as they used to be years ago where that trucker could just go ahead and make that turn. So you have them right up in the man's throat, and then you're trying to hold him accountable. Then the other time uptown, my SUV's too big to go around that curve by the, what is it, jewelry store? It's too big. It's narrow there. Always has been. We hometown people know to straddle when you drive, not to both try to go around there. But you got people parking at the fire hydrant and you got people parking outside of the brackets, even for my car. So somebody should be enforcing that. Policemen or somebody, because they're way at it. They're way at it. And I don't know whether they got too much joy juice in them or they're too anxious to go get it. I don't know. But that's what we noticed from uptown. We do not own Route 1. We have the right to police it and have it in our control. The state still owns it all the way from New England to Florida. Okay? So let's get it straight. Make sure you know what you're talking about up here. And by what I can see, by the way that's being kept, the state needs to take it the hell back.
Any other comment?
Online comments?
Please go ahead. Sir, come on up if you would. Go ahead, Rachel.
Mike Bontrager, that he gives the website for information on Newark Road, Old Baltimore Pike. And it says that according to the website, the work is supposed to start in 5/17/27, completed by 7/30/28. There's also a message from Peggy Crowley. Says, I don't know if it's just a matter of what's wanted or needed, but as a resident, it seems in excess of larger and multi-wheeled trucks are routinely coming down State Street as a thoroughfare and not for delivery, et cetera.
Thank you. Sir, if I got you come up to the podium.
Bill Grubb, 610 West Linden Street, here in Kennett Square. I have a question, actually two questions. When we have events in the city, how do we keep the trucks out?
And your second question?
Second question is, what do we, or what can we do on 82 to prevent this geonomic situation that we have previously heard about from Mr. Elvin?
Chief, can you answer the first one regarding closing State Street for events?
Certainly. So, Bill, what we do with that is we publicize it. We use message boards out on Route 1, temporarily letting them know the State Street's closed to truck traffic to try and get the message out before they even get off of Route 1. So we usually put one up at the the first exit by Walmart. We'll also put one right on 82, at the second exit.
Why can't that be permanent?
I would say that the cost is prohibitive to it. I think, Rob, you can probably answer, how much are they a day?
And then the second question had to do with geonomics. I'm not familiar with that, sir. Forgive me.
Well, the geometric problem that we have.
Okay, on Route 82.
On 82.
82 is a state road.
We have no, we can't do anything on 82? We can't put a bike lane on 82 coming through the town?
Mike, is that a question for you? And grab Rob's microphone if you would. Thank you.
Here.
Anything on 82 requires PennDOT approval and design to do it. So the borough can make an ask to PennDOT to look into it, but ultimately it'll come back to PennDOT to determine if it can be done or not. So for example, there's a truck restriction that PennDOT has put on place on 82 if you're coming south on 82 to make a right-hand turn onto State Street to go westbound. There's a truck restriction there already. They are in the process as we speak of doing a study for the other 3 legs of that intersection to evaluate if truck restrictions can be placed there as well. So again, that comes back to PennDOT ultimately to do that because they own the road.
So we in Kennett Square can't put a sign up that says no turns,
Not on State Street.
not on State Street. So
I'm
the
sorry, not on Union.
well, we still have well, actually, there's no real turn on Union to get onto State. It's only from State to get onto Union. That's the issue. You have the right-hand turn and the left-hand turn getting on 82 from State Street.
Correct.
Why can't we sign that as a borough?
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. That's what PennDOT is studying right now to evaluate if that restriction can be put in place because the restriction is associated with their road.
I mean,
So
do we have a proposal to them to do that, or are
They're
they doing
already-
it on their own?
They're already doing it on their own.
And when do we expect an answer?
It's
don't know the
PennDOT, sir.
I don't know the answer to that, sorry.
We have no leverage with our representatives with PennDOT?
Right after Comcast and Pico, I think. Are there any other questions? Ma'am, you were first, please. Holly, 1 second. Miss?
My name is Carrie Dickman. I live in Magnolia Place. 620, Magnolia Court. I've been to a couple of these meetings. For me, what's really important here is that the decision that the borough makes is a collaborative decision with businesses and representing the citizens who live here. I think the key question is, what do we want the borough to look like? What kind of a community is it? What I've seen over the past decade is it's developing into a walking community. We have shops, we have people in the streets. And when you develop a walking community, a sensitivity needs to be to preserving the safety of people walking. There was an accident on, I'm going to get the side wrong, over by Liberty Place the other day. Somebody coming through. I happened to have been up on the corner building signs 2 Fridays ago, and a trucker was making the turn onto 82 and cut us really close. I don't think it was a political statement by the trucker. It's just that the turn is tough to make there. So when we look at what we want for a community, what type of community we want to develop, then we look for a collaborative way to work with the businesses. I heard that the businesses are using, I'm assuming when we say businesses, we meant the mushroom farms there, are using sort of a single-use driver system. The call goes out, somebody comes in, it's not always the same driver. That needs to be on the business, not on us as a community. We welcome them into the community. We need the pickups, we need the mushrooms going out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't share part of the solution to the issue of trucks and the problems we're having with transportation. They can switch the system they're using. I worked for school districts for 18 years. If we can get kids to and from school and the buses, and we had a routing system, there's no reason that businesses can't use a routing system as well, so that they collaborate with us. They participate in our community, not just impact the community. And I'll leave it at that. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any others? Please.
Holly Peters from 109 South Broad Street. I have a business and a building there. I had a couple of questions. When that study came out like 12 years ago, I remember reading an article that said that there were some local entities that determined that they could do what needs to be done out at Newark Road faster than the 6 and 7 year thing by the state, and they were engaging or endeavoring to do that. Does anyone remember that? It was done because they said that, you know, time and money, right, for the truckers. So for them to actually, they're heading north on one and they should get off at Newark, but it's too hard to do. They go up to Kennett instead. They come down South Union, left on Cypress, left on Broad, left onto State so that they can come right out. And they had done like a feasibility study saying that it was more cost effective if they just fixed it themselves faster. Does anybody remember, was any of that discussed? And what happened to that, if you remember anything about it?
That is what happened, is the businesses there all contributed and purchased the right of ways and everything else, but they're not allowed to fix it's a state controlled intersection.
Okay, so they.
So there was a public-private there where Manfredi's and a couple of other businesses bought the right of ways and helped contribute towards that.
I see.
But they're not allowed to do the physical construction.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because my memory was that it would happen faster as a result of that. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to point out, and you know, the study obviously would probably discover this, but being on Broad Street, which is a wider street, we often get those trucks coming up Broad Street from the south, and we get them coming down Union, making that left turn on Cypress, making the left turn on Broad Street to come up and make the left turn on State. And it's not really a problem with the width of Broad Street, which is one of the appeals that I have of Broad Street because it is wider. There's less cars parallel parked as well. It's the turns. And you know, I feel like there's some work to be done, as this person, the woman before me, pointed out. There's times when you see like these trucks trying to make these turns and people are like, you know, like backing up against the buildings and stuff. So I really feel like in that study, if there were a study to be done, that there's a lot of trucks that come up Broad Street, a lot. And then when we close for special events, it probably gets multiplied by 5 times the amount of trucks. They are just nonstop. So if there was a way to say during the events that they just weren't allowed to come into town, it's really, you know, and given all the other things that are going to be discussed later this night, to put foot traffic and increase foot traffic over there on that street and then have that truck traffic going, I think it's just going to create more of that people versus truck occurrences increasing. And the other spot that I wanted to mention was on South Union Street on the right side of the Picone building. There's no place to get out of the way when those trucks turn. And that sidewalk is very narrow and you're just right up against the building. And you know, those truck distribution centers have been there for a long time. I mean, they're not going anywhere. They are part of our community too. So somewhere between the middle of the changes that are happening in Kennett with more foot traffic and the you know, the existing businesses that are out there thriving, there has to be some kind of middle ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, hold on 1 second. Daniel?
I want to let you know we have about 10 minutes left.
Okay, about 3 questions. Daniel first.
I'll be very brief. I'm Daniel Embry with Kennett Collaborative. I just want to advocate for walkability and for reasonable restrictions on truck traffic. We find that we hear broad support for that, and we feel that it would benefit both the residents and the businesses of the borough. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ken?
Ken Edwards, 412 Meredith Street. While you're talking about this, and you're concentrating on just 2 streets, 3 really, if you count 82, but you're talking about Cypress, you're talking about State and Union. Don't forget the side streets. I have anywhere from 3 to 6, 56, 58 footers making deliveries to the businesses in the buildings between my home and the railroad tracks down where the daycare center is. All right. Plus, they're making deliveries to the little business up on, I'm Mulberry, Magnolia. And some of them are that long. They're coming from making deliveries at Victory, and the restaurants that are over in that area coming back across Magnolia all the way over to Union, and either going right to go that way, go south, or they're making a left to go north. You can't forget about the side streets because they are on them. Trucks anywhere from a 20-foot box truck to, like I said, 53-foot tractor trailer. And they're just not making one piece. They're making a lot of money. They're putting stuff into other businesses. So don't just concentrate in one area like in the past 10 years the borough seems to do.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hey, everybody. I'm Morgan Ellithorpe, 225 South Union Street in the borough. This will either be a very short or very long question, depending on the answer to this, which is how much control does the borough have over the speed limit in town for trucks?
Chief?
The borough has complete control over the speed limits.
Okay, just because for me, all of my concentration is that crosswalk to Mary D. Lang across Union, which thank you so much for having people there in the morning sometimes stopping traffic. But the trucks that come down the hill going 35 plus on Union, they just cannot stop for us. They don't see the pedestrians. And this is the case not just at that intersection, but on State Street also in some places, and on Cypress, especially with Cypress also being 35. And so I don't know if there's an option for truck traffic, if it's still going to exist on these roads, if we don't end up restricting it, if we can at least say truck speed limit 25 or something like that, depending on what a traffic study might say is safer.
I mean, that's all vehicles are restricted to that same speed limit.
Okay, so there's no option to say, I know on highways, often it's trucks are 55 and everybody else is 70 or whatever.
Actually, I would kind of kick that to you, Mike. I think we could probably craft a restriction. I don't know that it's really as enforceable though.
Yeah, so to go below, I think you're talking about potentially going below 25.
Well, so Union is 35, right? And
Okay,
so is
no,
Cypress.
It's 25.
I think it's 25.
It's 25, or it's 35 coming down into town, right?
It stops right when you get to Fairthorn Street at 35, and then it becomes 25 the rest of the length of
Mhm.
town. So you get up past the high school or out of town.
Okay, and then it's 35 again once you come up to the high school, yeah. But Cypress is 35 the whole way through, correct?
Cypress, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't go below 25 is what you're saying.
You have to get an engineering study and get special PennDOT permission. And the other balance with going too low, especially for truck traffic, is one, when they do that study, they do have to look at whether it's feasible for the trucks to make it. Just like when you're putting in a stop sign, you have to make sure that traffic can actually stop there. But the other balance to take into account is if you make it very, very low, you're going to start seeing an increase in jake braking. And that's going to drive you just as crazy as the trucks.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Mike, could I trouble you to just hand the microphone to John?
Holly made a very good point that I think you could do right away, is that we control Broad Street. If cars are coming down 82 and then going around the block to go down State Street, just don't allow trucks to go up Broad Street from Cypress to State. That way they can't go turn. I had a truck run over my car on Broad Street one time. Just turn the corner, run over my fender. But why couldn't, I mean, we own Broad Street, so we could restrict the cars because they're doing that loop to get around to go straight down State Street because they can't turn from.
John, the only thing I would not to interrupt you, John. The only thing I would add, that's the borough's designated truck route. The borough intended that to get to, because trucks aren't supposed to be able to make the turn from Union on to State Street. They created that truck route probably 15 years ago or more, maybe even 20 at this point in time.
I
So
understand that, but what you're saying is you stop them from turning on State from 82, and you stop them from Broad, they gotta go straight, they gotta go to South Street, they gotta leave Kennet, really. You gotta figure out a way, and truckers will do that. They'll find a way. Huh? Well, I mean, when you find a restriction, truckers will find a way if you restrict them enough. Believe me, we did it for years.
Thank you very much for your input. Rachel, please. Last comment.
It's actually a request to have all council members use their mics.
Great comment. Thank you very much for your comments. That's a healthy discussion. Kathleen?
Public Safety Committee, we've gone around the block with this a few times. And Chief, if I remember, there are, just so the public knows, there are certain truckers who get permits to go through town, like Phillips and a few others. So there's certain trucks we cannot restrict.
Yeah, and that's something that's really not widely known, and we were discussing it with Mike during the public safety discussion. There are restricted vehicles already on Union Street. PennDOT gives it, I'm sorry, not gives, they issue permits to companies to have larger trucks to be able to utilize those roads. So even though that we're trying to control something with a local problem, we still have to have PennDOT working with us to deal with this overall problem.
Thank you. And again, thanks for your comments. Just a quick summary, at least from my perspective, of the comments we had, 5 of them were generally in support of doing something to restrict or limit trucks. 1 was not. Couple of good comments, Ed and John, that there are other streets to consider the impact on pro and con as well, and the impact it has. And I think Ms. Dickman's comment certainly resonated in terms of what does the borough want? What's the quality of life and how does it impact what the borough is or the borough wants to become or is coming? I think we've got some good guidance and we can take it back to the safety committee and Mike and team to decide what the next steps are. Thank you very much. The last discussion for this evening, before we have one other action item, is related to State Street 2.0. Kyle is going to kind of kick us off. Julie, on behalf of council, and then Mark Evans from our consultant, Derek and Edson, will share a couple comments. Kyle, what is this all about?
Sure, I'll give a very brief background on this. This really started last spring. We held listening sessions with the public, as we often do. A few takeaways came out of that, clear couple action items, which were primarily coming from residents and business owners along State Street, but more widely the community. One was to look at truck traffic, which we just saw progress or at least discussion on that. Number 2 was a discussion looking at parking along State Street. That can be frustrating, maybe inefficient in some ways. We have gotten a state funding process for that. So that's underway. That'll come to public here pretty soon. The third effort or concern was generally an interest in less difficult to put your thumb on, but investing and sort of promoting State Street as the center of our commercial corridor. We took that. We asked the county for some funding to help support it. We were awarded funds from the county to help in this process last fall. And so the presentation here tonight is coming out of that. 2 action items that we'll ask council to consider on Wednesday. One is acceptance of this study, which is essentially us communicating that we've received the materials, that the work was done, and that's really necessary for us to get reimbursement from the county for the grant. The second would be adoption of any or all of these proposals in their current state, modified onto our capital improvement plan. They do not have funding at this point, so it would be, here are directionally things we want to look at, and then working backwards to find funding or resources or make changes as desired. Councilmember Hamilton, you want to introduce it?
Yeah, so I'm here tonight
for an exciting revitalization product that we've been working on, one that's designed to enhance the natural beauty and vibrancy of Kennett Square. This effort has began as a personal passion project rooted in my background with the Delaware Nature Society and my lifelong love of gardening. I do truly believe that Kennett Square is one of the greatest towns in America, and this project is about celebrating that while continuing to build on our strengths. I had the pleasure of working closely with Kyle to convene a working group of incredible community leaders, people who bring a deep expertise in their fields and share a commitment to Kennett Square. On this group included Daniel Embry from Kennett Collaborative, Lou Florence from Kennett Library and the Shade Tree Commission. We had Natalia Santiago Velasquez from the Kennett Trails Alliance and the Borough Advisory Commission on Latino Affairs. Then we had Daniel Strakowski from Longwood Gardens, Kevin Myers and Libby Horowitz from the Chester Planning Community Planning Team. And then also on the team was Joe and Lexi from Borough Codes Department to help ensure that we were aligned in borough regulations. This project officially launched after we secured a grant, something that took almost 7 months to do. That grant was used to fund the consultant leads to help develop the conceptual framework, a vision of the future of our town that we could think to like. We'll see tonight our early stage renderings, not finalized plans. As we continue to gather input from you and our residents, these ideas will evolve. This is a living, community-driven process, and your voice is essential. At its core, this initiative is about two things: building community and beautifying the town. So we're looking at ways to improve key gateways in Kennett Square and create public spaces that foster pride, connection, and belonging. Now that I've said all this, I'd like to hand it over to Mark, who was the lead in the consultant work, to lead us through the 5 core concepts that anchor the revitalization project.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Hamilton. Appreciate it. Mark Evans, let's see here. Okay, great. Thrilled to be here with you. It's been a fantastic 9-month process to do a lot of listening, a lot of walking, a lot of sharing, some visions for how to enhance the borough. Dirk and Edson, we are a Lidditz Lancaster-based landscape architecture and planning firm. The group that I lead works with boroughs across the state on revitalizing and focusing on heritage, landscape, and beautification. We agreed on 5 kind of guiding goals for this effort for these 5 sites, starting with re-envisioning existing public infrastructure to really enhance its role as a gateway into your borough. We talked about identification of locations for wayfinding signage and information kiosks, because business districts and walkability is about sort of shining a positive light on all the good work that your businesses and your borough has to offer. We also heard a goal of increasing available parking to make sure that businesses and employers have adequate parking so that they're not impacting nearby neighborhood streets. We also spent some time on a goal of rethinking how can parking lots, your borough public infrastructure, and your streets become more multi-purpose so that they can serve parking, but also serve as event spaces or civic spaces so they can be multi-purpose and leverage the assets that you're already maintaining, and then serve as, I know your borough manager highlighted, a capital improvement plan. So those are the things that we're really guiding on this. The 5 sites that we presented, maybe 8 sites, and narrowed it down to these 5. A is the East State Street corridor. Site B is the Apple Alley and Church Alley parking lot and a network of streets there at Marshall Street. Site C is Apple Alley at Sycamore Alley. And then Site D is really the North Union Gateway arrival from your north, 82. And then the last site is your Liberty Place site and the kind of West State Street area and Center Street as well. So I'll highlight quickly the sort of 5 key findings that we made recommendations on. The first is the Eastern Gateway at State Street. Clearly right now, high speeds, very little to slow people down and not necessarily the shining welcome that you might want in your borough. It encourages speed. There's very little in narrowing or traffic calming to sort of get appropriate speeds and having, sort of, I think, getting your visitors to think about slowing down sooner is really a key goal. And so the recommendations here include really looking at your right-of-way, the curb to curb, and thinking about saying, let's make a dedicated trail and walkway on the north side of 6 feet in width and creating places for banners. And you can see here in the upper right-hand corner, create that welcome gateway at the borough entrance and make sure there's texture paving, there's some piers, there's signage to sort of say you're welcome to the borough. If you look at the banners and say, hey, let's get some banners up along that arrival on the north side of State Street. Look at traffic calming at Walnut Street to make sure that the sidewalks and crosswalks there make sense and make it safe to get across the street. A high emphasis in this whole plan has been about safety and making sure that this is a safer place for pedestrians. We've certainly heard a lot of concerns about trucks and safety concerns. And then looking at walkways, widening the walkway to serve as the trail to get to Nixon Park and to be able to sort of connect together your trail network. And then the last item you see here up on the north side is to really look at landscape enhancements along that embankment. And so I'll show you some pictures of that now. Excuse me, one more. And then in the west area, as we get closer to Race Street, we made some recommendations for widening sidewalks, especially near the bridge, creating that trail connection between the YMCA and Nixon Park, and making sure that that has not just a crosswalk, but a raised traffic table, something that would raise awareness of vehicles to say, hey, this is a time to slow down, and making sure there's appropriate markers as you're arriving at that crosswalk and trail crossing. Banners, flags, signage, ways of sort of celebrating your heritage, celebrating your place in different ways through different materials. Traffic calming, and we talked about wayfinding and signs. So this is what we call a transformation image. This is a before view of the existing condition, and this is the proposed view where we're really looking at ways of saying, let's start by enhancing the sidewalk there you see in the rendering. Let's continue by focusing on landscape improvements on that embankment, improve it with seasonal grasses and things like that that will make it cared for and welcoming, not overgrown. The lighting for pedestrian lighting, notice the piers, these are part of a welcome to sort of say you've arrived and you can see the combination of materials there. You can see a flasher to make sure that pedestrians can push a button and let people know that they're about to cross the street. And then a change of color and texture paving on the material as well as different colors of paint to sort of warn people this is the time to slow down. You're entering a special pedestrian place. This is a zoom in a little bit further west looking, and you can see here the crosswalk, the piers, the flowers, the change of pattern, the greening, the lighting, and once again, the trail crossing near the YMCA. So all of those this is the first recommendation for study area A. Area B is Church Alley and Apple Alley and that parking lot, and really thinking of that in a fresh way, and that it's a piece of infrastructure that, yes, it parks cars right now, but it could be so much more while serving that parking and, in fact, enhancing the number of parking spaces. We believe this area can have 18 additional parking spaces beyond what it has right now by reconfiguring it in some new ways. And so here you'll see a proposed loop where Church Alley would allow circulation of the loop. Right now, where the post office driveway is, there would need to be some cooperation and communication to see whether the post office is open to reconfiguring their driveway and making Marshall Street and the post office, because right now there's about 16 parking spaces owned by the borough in a lot that is sort of landlocked. There is no connection, no driveway between Apple Alley and Church and Marshall Street to get you to that parking area. And so we believe that creating better circulation, better flow would allow people who are arriving westbound on State Street to in fact come south on Church Alley, go east on Apple and sort of circulate. And eventually they could do a loop and eventually say, hey, oh, I didn't find a parking space, but I've got 80 some parking spaces to choose from, and then continue a loop rather than having to, go south so I think finding ways for alternatives would really help. And this area in green shows a potential location for, I believe there's a historic cannon that was in the original prior Borough Hall that could be celebrated in this location or somewhere near this location, to be determined. But we said, let's take pieces of your history and give them a special place and give them a good setting and some grass and tell a story about why they're important. And so you can see sort of a grass picnic area there that could be a welcome place to sort of grab a lunch or have a sandwich or, enjoy a little respite away from the busyness of State Street. We also recommend some architectural lighting, some pedestrian string lighting, so that Apple Alley and Church would have different kinds of lighting so that they would feel welcoming and safe at all hours of the day. And then to sort of summarize, I believe 65 spaces are there now. We are recommending 83 spaces so that you could have additional parking in this area. And part of that comes by putting angled parking on Marshall Street. Here is Area B, and that before view, that's the parking lot right now. And so this is the proposed view. Notice the string lights, notice the stone piers, the string lights, a place where from time to time you could have a food truck or other things to sort of create a reason to come there for a Friday night meal or something like that during an event. And that's the green space you see there with some benches, a raised platform that could be a sitting and conversation area for every day, could be a place for live music, or a sort of something that would occur 3 or 4 times a summer for informal events. There's the cannon right there, and I think that gives site B. So, and then just a zoom in view of that same site. The third site, Area C, is Apple and Sycamore Alleys. And so part of what we realized is there's sort of a blank wall in the distance there, but maybe there's ways for a potential mural. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But so for this area where we looked at Apple Alley connecting into Church and that parking lot, is to say, maybe this could be an area where there's some string lights above, where you could have a more pedestrian-oriented welcome on Apple Alley, and make sure that that can accommodate the important deliveries that need to happen at the store there. There needs to be parking there. So this needs to be a flexible space, a multi-purpose alley, so that it can serve many, many different purposes. There's some important businesses in this area, and we need to make sure this is a flexible plan. And so you can see there enhancement to landscaping on that part of the alley, lighting, improved lighting on Sycamore. We can see there's some areas that need some slightly improved lighting. There's also opportunity for a beautiful brick wall that could be a mural location, to be determined, but looks like we saw a good location for that. And then at Broad Street, where Apple meets Broad, we said maybe this is a place where you could have a texture paved crosswalk, something that would be welcome. We've not designed exactly what that should be, but I think to be determined as to exactly what kind of logo or what kind of colors or materials would happen there. And then there could be some sort of a gateway over the alley there as well. We'll see that in a second. So this is the existing view, and here's how it could be transformed with a sort of an archway over the alley, to be determined exactly how tall it is, exactly how wide it is. But in general, notice the texture paving, Notice the lighting that you see on the brick building. Notice the string lights that could be across the street. This is a way to sort of, you have some wonderful events on Broad Street. What a great way to sort of connect together so many of your alleys and parking lots and make them a welcoming, connected pedestrian experience. And so I think through thoughtful landscape design, through thoughtful lighting, we think this could be a nice signature location within your business district. The fourth site, Area D, is North Union Street. And when we were looking at this site and we were walking with the study group, we realized that trucks and cars don't have reason to believe it's time to slow down yet. And so by the time they get to State Street, they're still at 40 miles an hour saying, I didn't know I was in a pedestrian district yet. Let's send the message sooner that this is a special place and you should slow down sooner. And so you'll notice here in the plan that we've shown kind of a gate, sort of suggesting Linden Street would be a great place to sort of create more of that sense of gateway, more of that sense of arrival. And let's start by changing the paving pattern to a brick reddish a terracotta pattern. Let's get good crosswalks. Let's enhance the landscaping in front of the parking garage and put a small plaza there with a information kiosk to give people a sense of orientation when they're coming to the borough. When they're leaving the parking garage, give them something to get oriented to say, hey, where do I go? How do I find cool businesses and things to do? And so piers and flags and banners. Your Kennett Heritage Center is a beautiful asset. Figure out how to make the pedestrian walkways and walls and lighting sort of reinforce the Heritage Center as a key location. And there's an extra 8 feet where you could have some landscaping and a curb bump out on the west side of Union Street at Linden. And then finally, the crosswalk at State Street and Union is primarily asphalt. It should be celebrated as a place where pedestrians and safety is really important, and that people will feel like this is a sacred place where speeding is not allowed and not encouraged. We need to send that message. Our firm has our home offices in Lidditz, where we have 2 state roads. We have 772, we have 501. We get a lot of trucks. We get a lot of trucks. But you notice, in Lidditz, there is a triangular green space and a park and a fountain at the main intersection in town. The message is clear. Pedestrians are sacred and should be treated that way. So I think here that can be done as well. And so here's the before picture of the North Union Gateway. Here is the proposed view here. So you can see, sort of send a message that appear with a sort of identity and sign. And we have to work on the details of exactly, but I think stone and a sort of a pier could be with grass and flowers on the right-hand side. Notice that that was previously asphalt, so sort of use that 8 feet where the parking is. And then as you go across, create an enhanced monument sign welcoming people and giving some direction as to how to find the historic downtown, how to find the garage and other things like that. Notice the Heritage Center enhanced signage there. Notice the sitting wall and the landscape enhancement and the street trees. Notice the kiosk with information to get people oriented, as well as the pedestrian flasher to let people know, push the button, let it flash, let people know I'm a pedestrian, I belong here, I want to make sure this is safe. So that, and then to the final one is Liberty Place. And so here, the opportunity here is to say, this is a sort of a borough parking lot. There's a lot of borough streets in this location here. Let's leverage these and figure out how could these enhance the parking experience. And there's a number of businesses and a number of customers that want to be in this part of State Street. Let's make sure that there's enhanced parking. So the big picture idea was to say, maybe that parking lot could, instead of being 1 level, could be 2 level, not 2 levels up, but 1 level at street level at State Street and one level lower at Scarlet Alley. Let's cut into the hillside and make parking underneath Scarlet Alley to be another 27 spaces underneath what is now State Street. This is a bold vision, one that would take, sort of some planning and some thinking about how to make it work, but it is possible to make this happen. There is a similar space like this in Lidditz that has some similar character to this as well. So, I don't have to remind you that vehicles coming westbound on State Street, they pick up speed as soon as they get to the crest of that hill and they put their foot on the gas. And so let's remind them that this is still a pedestrian zone, that curb bump outs, raised traffic tables, landscaping, all the different things that we can put in our traffic calming toolkit belong on State Street to make this a safe place to walk. Let's make sure the flow of cars and circulation of parking to go from State to Center to Scarlet makes sense and flows. Right now, it doesn't quite flow as well as it could. We're looking at 25 spaces on the upper level, 17 reverse angled spaces on Center Street, as well as another 27 spaces on the lower level. And so overall, that brings 69 parking spaces, 22 more than we have right now. And so this could be, a positive change. The other thing is, any area where we're doing business district revitalization, any area where you have 30, 40, 50, 60 feet where you have no storefront, you are creating a good reason for shoppers to turn around and go back to their car and go home. And so what we found is that in general, policy of looking at how to do it right is to make sure you never have more than about 30 feet before you give someone a reason to turn around. So you'll notice here, we've shown sort of a storefront, small one, that could be a part of associated with a stair, creating a better appeal. You can still see there's parking there, but let's make it more welcoming. And so there's that information kiosk to get people oriented. There's enhanced landscaping for the sort of the curb bump out. There's more flowers there. There's that retail area. And so overall, that's the vision of enhanced safety, a better place to support your business district environment, enhanced walkability, better parking, placemaking, wayfinding, identity, places for civic events. You own most all of this infrastructure. And so figuring out how to work with a few key partners. This is not a, sort of a highly detailed engineering. Right now, this is the visioning stage. We're, sort of trying to get sign off on that. But so in terms of what this is a planning level cost estimate. We have not been looking underneath every manhole to say, how many stormwater, how many inches is the stormwater basin? We have not been looking at how many water lines we have to be digging up. So we're making certain assumptions. These will need to be tested with Public Works and tested to make sure that the engineering needs work. So $810,000 to $920,000 includes a lot of assumptions that we want to be prudent and make sure that we're at least a little higher than, rather than being 40% lower, and make sure we've covered a number of possibilities. But we've also, for every one of these projects, we said, let's make sure that we can pick one or two things that we could get started with quickly as a phase one, something that would be beneficial, that doesn't have to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. In this case here, for the State Street, what if we focused on the landscaping along State Street and just clear some of the underbrush and improve the look of that. And maybe we do some of these improvements in paint for starters. We don't do a raised traffic table, but we at least do in paint what will send the message that this is a place that's changing. This is a place where pedestrians need to be prioritized. With every one of these, we've tried to identify ways of sort of doing the sort of quicker, easier, less expensive version first, and then eventually over time, put it in the capital budget to make these things happen. So that's project one. Area B would be, this is the one at Church and Apple, $600,000 to $700,000. But if you want to get started first, we think there's $57,000 to $69,000 where we can focus on just paint and making improvements to Marshall Street, changing the angle, adding the angled parking and getting some of the benefits of more parking. Area C with Apple and Sycamore, the big project with changing all the concrete and all the paving and all the lighting, $550,000 to $625,000. But to get started with something that could be achievable in the near term, let's start with just the intersection and maybe some lighting. And so that's sort of 100 to 130,000 to be able to focus on just those things and not all of the paving changes and things like that. And then the fourth one, Union Street, the big plan for changing all of those intersections with new paving and new curbs and all of the, would be that $725,000 to $825,000. But that kind of focus project, focusing just on better crosswalk and maybe a couple signs at Linden, that's in that sort of $173,000 to $211,000. So, and then the last one is Liberty Place. If we were not to talk about the parking garage right now, but just said, hey, let's just focus on State Street. Let's just do the things along State Street that would make it safer for pedestrians. I think that one is maybe 180 to 220, or the larger project, 550 to 600,000 would include, the buildings, there, the outdoor dining, the angled parking, the curb bump outs, the street trees, all of those things in that 550 to 600 range. When you're building a parking garage, especially when you're digging underground and you're not quite sure how much underground water you're going to deal with and old foundations and all that kind of stuff, a typical parking garage in Pennsylvania will be anywhere between $35,000 and $45,000 a space. That's a lot of money, but when you look at the benefits of having 22 additional parking spaces, that would be a 52 space garage. There's some examples in Doylestown Borough where they've done something very similar that I can show you as well. But so I think that's the big picture. Here are the 5 images. We hope that a couple of these are worth pursuing and things that make sense to move forward with. And we hope this is good and everyone's some good food for thought. And these will evolve. They will need to be refined based upon lots of different voices, but hopefully this is a good start for all.
Mark, thank you very, very much. I could ask you to hang on. Absolutely. You had us so excited with all the concepts, and then you had to crush us with the costs, didn't you?
Yeah, it was.
So who in the audience would support all 5 of the concepts if budget was not an issue? Great job, guys. The only problem is budget is a reality, and not one of these projects are funded right now. But thanks for the concepts, for the vision, Mark, Kyle, Julie. I also want to single out Kevin Myers, who's in the back of the room from Chester County Planning Commission, who's been an incredible advocate and supporter of Kennett Square for at least a dozen years that I'm aware of. Kevin, thank you very, very much. Twice that, says Matt. Thank you.
Good guy.
Excellent guy and a real fan of Kennett Square. Thanks, Kevin. Well, let's get into a discussion. These concepts are all conceptual. They're not funded. These concepts are really all about beautifying and actually improving parking and public safety in the borough for the most part. We've got 5 different concepts, some of which may fly eventually, some of which may not. I'd ask for your thoughtful opinions, your suggestions, excuse me, your suggestions. The team that's working on this, Julie, I assume will take it away and come back with next steps if there are some, and look for funding. I just certainly ask for courtesy and allow the folks that have not spoken yet to speak first, and time permitting after that, within that 30 minutes, we'll certainly try to get to everyone like we did last time. So with that, please, if you have comments, come on up to the microphone, especially if you haven't spoken before, and let's hear as many as we can. Keep them brief if you can.
I will try. Yes. Hi, I'm Michael Bertrando, Sam's Sub Shop. I also live in the borough at near to Liberty Place, where this parking garage, I hope, does not happen. Honestly, I think I'm all for beautification and stuff. None of these, well, except for the Liberty Place one, would really affect me or my family's business, which is coming into town. But honestly, I read today a blog post that Daniel wrote about our town being a unique place. I think he described it as being a unicorn. And to me, I mean, I'm going to be blunt. These are like a gray mare to me. They seem inauthentic to us and I grew up in Kennett, to our community, because these are voices not from Kennett. I looked at your website. I forget the name of your company. I'm sorry, forgive me. And for example, the Apple Alley is basically the same design as the Liberty Trail Park you did in Lebanon, PA. The entryway things are the same as in Sayre, Pennsylvania. And so we're Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. When we go to these outside places to design our town, we just become any other town. We lose our uniqueness. We become, I always use the Pottery Barn thing. It's like we were, designed by Pottery Barn, which seems to be, pretty bland. And I think the design committee, whoever's on this committee, is missing an opportunity by not seeking more input from the merchants. There was a meeting for the merchants, but these designs were already, completed or done. I don't know about residents. I just found out about it from going to a merchant meeting, so I don't know how many residents are aware of it. But again, to me, my main point is that, we're a unique place. We're the mushroom capital of the world. There's unique businesses here. We have Sam's, we have Burton's, and this town was walkable way before now. When I was a kid growing up here, I walked to the Pizza Gallery. I walked to Newberry's. I walked to Sheldon's. I walked to St. Patrick's Church. I walked back to work at Sam's Sub Shop. We just didn't call it walkability then. We just called it our life. And so to come here and say, now we have that. We had that. And so again, I think these designs, while I think they're very well intentioned, I think, I don't see the Kennett Square quality in any of them. And the other thing, just on a budgetary thing, with landscaping and stuff, that takes maintenance. And so I'm wondering what the long-term costs of these designs and these plans would be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fair comment. Next.
I'm Vicki Lazinski from the American Legion. I'm an officer there. I live in West Grove, but I spend a lot of time in Kennett. So with regard to the Church and Apple Alley, I just want to make sure that we don't lose any access to the parking. So if that parking space certainly could use some beautification, but if then it's turned into an event opportunity, I'm concerned about having a collision between having that parking lot shut down for an event at the same time that we have an event scheduled in our banquet hall which holds about 300 people. So I have real concern about that and losing any kind of parking in that. And also, while I'm up here, we do not have a handicap parking space. That was given to the furniture company, and it's been reported to me that if a handicapped person does park there that's not shopping in that store, they've been told to move. So, yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
Holly Peters, 109 South Broad Street. I own the building and I run my business in there. Have these plans changed since we saw them, but the merchant? Have there been
Little bit.
revisions?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. And is the alley Apple Alley part, is that area of study which C, is that correct? Okay. I purchased my building in 2008. My business is buying and selling of area rugs and furniture. Our inventory is heavy and bulky. For this reason, a lot of space is required, as well as the ability to safely load, unload, pick up, deliver items to clients' homes. 109 South Broad Street appealed to me because of the wider street, available parking in Apple Alley, 2 ways to access the building, proximity to the municipal parking lot when I made the decision to purchase in 2008. The prior owner informed me that 6 adjacent parking spaces on Apple Alley that are in place on Apple Alley were at our use prior to my purchase. We've been operating our rug service department out of the lower level of my building and our gallery since 2008. Daily access for our truck on Apple Alley as well as Broad Street is essential to my business for deliveries as well as pickups and drop-offs by clients. In short, there's a regular stream of traffic essentially related to our business, which uses Apple Alley daily. Closing or restricting traffic would severely and negatively impact my ability to run my business in my building. Additionally, I've leased a portion of the lower level to various businesses over the years, in addition to using my garage on the lower level for my business. Closing the alley to vehicle access will most likely eliminate my ability to rent any space on that lower level. Such a result carries economic harm. We have 6 parking spots which have been tethered to the building for decades. I'm sure there are locals here that could probably hone in on that date. These parking spaces are used by employees, clients, tenants, their clients. At night, they're used by people coming into the town for other reasons. Removing any of these, even one, places a hardship on me, plus adds more cars to the already crowded borough streets. Parking in the borough is difficult now. Additionally, the municipal parking lot east of my building is used by our clients as well as other businesses. I understand it's being considered for non-parking use. If the parking lot is wholly or partially made a non-parking use, the problem grows. The borough lot is used by folks who patronize the Legion, Gish's Furniture, and other businesses. Many people don't want to park on the streets for various reasons: elderly, folks with kids, handicapped citizens, veterans, and people who wish to park and walk to State Street. There's a precedent here. The borough has allocated 7 spots in that parking lot to Gish Furniture, a 10,000 square foot building, along with room for a loading dock and an easement to access that loading dock. There are signs for 211 Wealth Management to have 6 or 7 spots. I understand 9 parking spots were allocated for the old Borough Hall, an even smaller building. My building is 13,000 square feet. The Legion is bigger than mine. Again, taking away parking will severely impact all of us in this already diminishing lot. I should receive the same allocation as a longtime borough property owner. The use of Apple Alley is a zoning issue. Usage for my building requires parking. Will the borough honor those 6 spots on Apple Alley, which have served the building for many decades prior to my ownership? Also, what about access for emergency vehicles? I suggest the borough takes action to authorize an objective traffic parking study to
Holly,
assess
Holly,
how to best handle the parking as
Thank-
Kennet continues to grow.
Thank you so much. You're at time.
Thank you. Hold on one second. John, Sandy, go ahead.
Sandy D'Antonio, 220 North Broad Street. I did enjoy looking at the presentation. It was very good, but I want it to be known that the borough does not own that parking lot at Liberty Place. And I don't think taxpayers' money should be used on any improvements. And also, I think that the residents and the business owners should have input because they're the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, my name's Gina Donato. I live at 225 North Broad Street. Got it right. Didn't start talking first.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I love it. As a person who lives in this town, I always think every single time a new project comes out, oh, I'm going to love it. But how is it going to impact the people who live here? So I haven't processed yet how it might impact those who live here and who live in the community and how it might impact traffic and crossing the street. But the couple things that came to mind were the piers. I know they look pretty, but all I think about is my kids standing on one side of a pier trying to cross the street and getting hit by a car. So if the piers, yeah. No, I'm just bringing my thoughts in. Yeah. No, I understand. I love the Union Street. Union Street is so hard to cross right there. I'm always trying to cross with my dog and almost getting hit by cars. So I'm really excited that that will be a focus if it is. And then we're talking a lot about adding better parking, better parking. We still have an unused parking garage. I live across the street from it. The lights shine in my window every night and it's unused. So maybe we consider going back to nights and weekends free and to see if parking gets a little bit better. I'm just throwing that out there. And then it is very much a college campus feel. And I work on a college campus and then I might come home to a college campus. So the red brick just reminds me of the University of Delaware. So, and I trip on those bricks every single day. So stamped concrete over brick would be awesome. And just thinking about how it does like mimic a college campus doesn't really feel like home. So those are my thoughts.
Daniel called that out already. That was a big topic of discussion and we're already aware of that. So
Oh,
that would
yeah.
be something that-
Yeah, and that also reminded me is I also am on a college campus a lot and we have like maps all over campus and they get really gross and dingy and the upkeep is hard. So things like that, I don't know how much we need those, but I like a lot of the garden and the community feel. I love the lights, so.
Mike, can I trouble you to hand the microphone to John, please? Thank you.
Well, surprisingly, these concepts are not new. They've been done before, except for the Apple Alley. They had a big turnaround done down to the entrance to Kennedy at one time. Going to be an overpass. Oh man, it was going into the park. It was, that was Mike Walker and his group. And they were going. Then the parking lot does belong to the borough, Sandy. Yeah, I don't know why, but they have let Bosley's use it, but we can't. We do own it. So, but that concept of tiered parking, been there, done that, didn't work. The only thing I disagree with, really, the other stuff doesn't bother me. The stuff with Apple Alley bothers me. I think Holly's got a point. And the American Legion, I grew up in the American Legion. I'm a product of a World War II vet who was a prisoner of war, who we practically lived in that Legion building when I was growing up. Us and the Stykes and the Fioris and Blitter stores, all these kids, we grew up in that Legion, all over it. And then we were all over the Voorhees, had a hardware store where Ollie's at. And those parking lots, that parking's been there forever. And I am 77 years old. And I don't remember when it wasn't there. And I think Holly's been there 21 years. I don't know if she has a right to eminent domain or not. No?
No,
Why not?
because the borough owns it as a parking lot.
Well, they've let
Just
her
like
use it for
any of the
21
other-
years. Why,
like
how can they take it away?
So just like any of the other streets on the parking spots in the public streets, someone, just because people use it, it doesn't become someone else's parking lot. It's owned by the borough.
All right, well, I believe that Holly should have it. The American Legion needs it because they rent out their spots. And they've been renting them out. I remember when there was a bowling alley in the bottom of the Legion. Used to bowl there. And I mean, that's how old I am, I guess, but
Thank you.
I've been going there for years and it's a shame to do that to Holly.
Thank you, John. Any other final comment? Please come on up to the microphone. The four of you will finish it up.
Hello, how are you? My name's Tommy. I'm on 904 South Union Street. My mom, Holly, has a business in Kennett, and I support everything she says. I do have one question, though. in regards to the revitalization, and that is the abysmal state of Cypress. Is that being looked at, considered? Potholes
Yeah, we're doing that next year, right?
next year? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's good to know. All right.
Excuse me, I've never been to a meeting, I've never talked.
Not yet. After these other folks first, hold on one second, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Charlie, you mind? My name's Bill Sinton, and I probably don't need the mic, but I too grew up here. Went to school here, graduated from here, spent my whole life here. Spent 21 years in the Army National Guard. I was a pilot in the Delaware National Guard. I was deployed in 2004 and 2005 to Iraq and left 6 kids in the school district here. The YMCA and the school districts took care of my kids. So I have a vested interest. My father started a business in Mendenhall in 1970. In 77, we went to Chadds Ford. I brought it into Kennett in 95. We're an HVAC company. We're mechanical contractors. Our main focus is geothermal, environmental, renewable energy systems. I'm the largest contractor in that field in the Philadelphia region. I know most faces in this room. Yeah, my father bought an old McCord dealership right on 316 East State Street. That's where I am. And I turned it into the business, keep the apartments upstairs, viable businesses out front. I've got one empty tenant right now that I'm trying to rent. Maybe somebody could help me with that. Anyway, over the years, I've come to realize that, we've got a lot of traffic in there, and and I have tractor trailers coming in quite a few days a week, and they use Apple Alley to get out. So that's going to be a problem there. And, I just have big box trucks and they go in and out. But Apple Alley is a commercial district as far as I'm concerned. Places like Apple Alley serve the community by serving the commerce businesses that back up to them from the street, as most Westchester, Wilmington, Kennett Square, West Grove, any Oxford, they all have back alleys because that's where like the dirty work is done. So the public can see the pretty stuff out front. I mean, that's the reality of it. And some of these concepts and ideas, there's that old cliche, build it and they will come. Sometimes you build stuff and they don't come, i.e. parking garage, but that's always been a thorn in everybody's side because, it should be used. If it was in Philadelphia, it would be used. Wilmington, it would be used. But out here, we're rural people. We're not urban. And people don't like to park in parking garages. They like to park on the street and they like to learn how to parallel park, but they don't do that very well either here. Hence the side swiping of vehicles. It's not so much the wide tractor trailers. Every day I go down State Street and there's always cars a foot out past the white lines. Well, they just don't know how to parallel park. But anyway, great ideas, but people know when they're in Kennett. They know when they're coming into Kennett. Do we need big, grand signs and things? I think the police department is the best source of keeping people slow coming down Union into Kennett and coming down State Street. A consistent presence. We did risk assessments on on our Michigans every time. Every time we went out, there was a risk assessment. If you're consistent at it, people remember it. You can't just do it once in a while. And anyway, that's all I got to say. I'm not thrilled with anything on Apple Alley. And Kyle and I have had discussions, and I've had discussions with possible construction on my property in the future with the Chester County Economic Development Council. I had them come down there, that whole group, doing preliminary planning there because I don't need my business in the middle of the borough. But that property is prime property. And I think that property squared off and developed properly would be a really good shining star in the town for commercial businesses and residential apartments upstairs. That is the whole idea. But I wasn't privy to the new concepts of Apple Alley. I wish that I was just brought up to speed on that this week. So.
And we're all just seeing them for the first time. Well, except for the study group as well. We're all seeing them for the first time. Daniel, you had a comment?
Thank you.
Two more comments and we'll wrap it up for this evening on this topic.
Hi, Daniel Embry, Kennett Collaborative. I really appreciate Sam's comment, and that resonated with a conversation that Kennett Collaborative's board had about this project. One important aspect about this exercise for us is that these are concept sketches, not plans, not designs. And so the next step here, if any of the 5 are approved, would be to secure funding. And if funding was secured, then we would hire designers and artists and engineers. And my hope would be that in that process, that would have wide community input, and that is the moment at which we'd be able to put that charm, that character, that unicorn quality through the materials, through the quality of the designers that are brought in, through local voices, through the design that character would be brought in to it. So I just want to remind everyone that what we're looking at is the very beginning of what is likely to be a very long process with lots of opportunities for input, lots more meetings like this. And my hope is that we can get some momentum for creating change to make improvements that bring back the safety and walkability and beauty that we love about Kennett Square, that we already have, but that always needs to be refreshed in order to keep it alive and vibrant. So thank you.
Ms. Watson, it looks like you're dying to finish us up, please.
And that in a positive way.
Number one, tonight is Monday night. It's the first Monday. The first Monday in this borough's for borough business. We didn't have any. This was the first order of business, and it should have been spoken of first, and the other people should have been last. We as citizens want to hear business of the borough. We don't want to hear your pipe dreams. We don't want to hear things that people are doing behind our backs and don't include our citizens, because I don't know how many of our citizens are in here, but it's not many. And all the people sitting here who get a chance to speak beyond the time they should have to speak are not our citizens. We're paying experts too, maybe. I'm not sure, not meant to knock you down, but we're paying experts tonight. And I think it's a waste of money, Mr. Norris. Our parking lot's already been stolen from us. I came in here with a deed from 1963 for those first spaces there by that library. And in one swift vote, it was given away right here in this chamber. Talk to me, anybody who wants history and thinks they can, compete. Because you can't compete with the knowledge I have and with the stuff you're doing. And when that happened, and that person said you couldn't use that handicap, and that was what was said. I got mine, now you get yours. It was said to one of the citizens. And I don't know if you can do handicap like that in the state or federally. But they were our parking spaces. We created that parking lot. The library never had a parking lot. We maintained it for all those years and given away in one swift vote and asked for right here by Mr. Norris. And you're going to need that easement too. And the easement went over a parking lot. It went over parking spaces that the length of the cars have to be considered, as well as pulling in and pulling out. But you gave it to them. And then the next time I'm sitting here, there's the Marshall Street property that now you're come back for the kill is what I'm trying to tell you. They come back to put the final dagger in, to take the middle of it. We don't want your carnival uptown. You got too much of that carnival. Get them lights down looking like some old cheap town. We had class. We're 1 square mile, and people knew who we were. And what we got proposed to us now is for some urban area. We're not that big. And by the way, the $12 million we owe for this building. So we got built business to talk on Monday nights, and it does not involve beautification. Because we got debt that you're putting on a taxpayer, and I'm sick of paying it for you. I'm sick of your pipe dreams, your libraries, and everything else. And you put that on the citizens, and you push small people out. Small people can't live here. And we're not talking about the low, moderate, Section 8. We're talking about people on the living. They've been pushed out. And I hear walkable. This town was more walkable in the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. Those few people on the street now don't mean a thing. And if you want walkable, you got to bring in goods, businesses that deal with goods and services. Where's our drugstore? You got us going east to west for the supermarket, and you call yourself councilmen, politicians, infrastructure, structure. You're not even beginning to think about it. And when you built that department building down there and left that deep hole, and I had to come up here and say, you better get some protection around that thing.
Thank you, Ms. Watson.
And I asked for you, Mr. Engineer. I said, you better bring him out.
Ms. Watson, your time's up.
Well,
Thank you.
I guess it is because you never want to hear from citizens. We need a town hall of Kennett Borough citizens only.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Your time's up.
Because you're bringing in outsiders trying to take over our town. We're tired of it.
Next, I guess, is there a follow-up, Kyle or Julie? Next steps are to incorporate the comments, the suggestions, the thoughts, the critiques, and come back and decide what to do, or what's the next step?
That's right. The two action items for Wednesday would be accepting the plan, understanding that it's been done for reimbursement purposes, and to adopt any or all the projects that you see fit with any recommended changes that you see fit.
Okay.
That then goes into our capital improvement plan, where we try to figure out how to fund it and basically take what is now a 10% design and work it to 30 and 60 and 90 to get it done.
Perfect, thank you. And you also have the ability to comment before the vote on Wednesday as well, if you'd like to. Last,
Sorry, can I just jump in?
please.
Just because we didn't do council discussion first, I don't think. Just as a full disclosure and transparency, I do work with Dan Sikowski, who is part of this group. I checked with Mike. I don't think it's any issue, but I just wanted to put that out there for transparency's sake, that Dan Sikowski, who's on this task force, and I are colleagues.
Thank you, Sam. And the action item this evening has to do with revising the parking ordinance. The Safety Committee, Chief, Mayor have reviewed this. It's been advertised. So this evening it's up as an action item for discussion. First, Chief, can you please give us sort of the brief view, or Mike, of the key changes to this parking ordinance?
I can try my best, and others can certainly fill in. First, what it does, these all came out of the Safety Committee, and they've been kind of long-term discussions on their checklist of items to address and take care of. First one is the designation of 2 spaces in front of 329 East State Street, Sam's Sub Shop. Put those back to 15-minute parking during hours. The next 2 sections deal with sort of the same thing. It's Linden Circle, making sure that there is no parking on the interior of the circle, and that it's been designated one way, if I'm correct, Chief. Next, the right along our new entrance to the police station, it's just taking away the 2 of the spaces that would have otherwise created a visual obstruction. And lastly, it updates the removal and snow and ice provision. Currently, it doesn't address ice, it just addresses snow and hail. And to make sure that, so the new provision does address ice as well, that has to be cleared off, and that it has to be entirely cleared off of those walking areas.
Thank you. Chief, anything to add, or Mr. Mayor? Council discussion? We'll get to public discussion in a second, and we'll finish up on council discussion. Is there a motion to accept the revised ordinance as presented this evening?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Council discussion.
Public safety several times for several months, with lots of input from some of our residents on the streets that are affected. So. Pretty confident.
Thank you. Any other council manager? Public comment? Please come on up.
Michael, again, just saying thank you for that sign. It has made a huge difference. And I know Nikki Pucci in the office and Mario are very thankful that I'm not hounding them every day. So thank you from them as well. Thank you.
Mike, we also thank you for your patience because we were trying to bundle it into one
No.
ordinance with the improvements for Linden Street.
Understood. Understood. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second. Behind you, sir.
No, mine's quick.
Troy Thompson, 612 D Street. Just want to comment about these plans because I spent today going through the parking lots, counting spots and so forth. The alley location again.
Troy, I'm going to interrupt you. Is this related to the ordinance or this comment here?
Just this, since I wasn't able to speak.
Okay,
So-
I'm going to ask you to come back during the general public comment if you don't mind, so we can just finish up this ordinance change and then you can
Okay.
certainly have your comment again.
Well, I don't have to come back up. How do you go and respond to giving feedback on that?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
You said you can do feedback to this. What is the mechanism to do that?
You can comment in about 5 minutes. Remind us.
Troy, there's going to be a mechanism for submitting feedback through the borough website
Okay.
so that you can provide additional specific information so
Okay.
that the committee can take
I'm
all of it
familiar
in.
with that. All right. thank you.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry about that. Related to this ordinance.
Yes, the people of Linden Circle, thank you very much for approving it.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just point out, especially on the Linden Circle piece, that this is exactly a great how local government should work. The group on Linden Circle and on Linden Street came with concerns. They came to public safety. We vetted it. We gave them suggestions on how we could make the ordinance work for them. They went out and led by you, went out and got the residents to sign a petition. So we knew that folks really wanted this and came back and now it's to ordinance. So it's a great example of work collaborating together so that we could get the end result. So thank you very much for your hard work with your neighbors there. Thank you.
Council, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, public comment, general public comment up to 4 minutes. You don't have to use the 4 minutes, but it's available if you'd like to. Troy, is there something you'd like to say first?
Yeah, I got a quick look at that before I came out, and I would just ask to check. A lot of this stuff, as far as the parking spots, are actually disclosed in the deeds for the property owners. So just that Church and Apple, of that spot, 21 parking spots are the post office. Gish has 7 parking spots. 2 of them are handicapped, as was stated. 211 Wealth has 9 parking spots. I saw nothing back to 2023. I saw come into public comment where they wanted that parking, but there was no disclosure of how many parking spots. When I reviewed the deed, and it has now flipped over to Bondrager's trust, I'm seeing 9 in both the deeds. I don't see any public comment around designating that being 9. So it's in the deeds. You guys signed off on it. I'm not sure where that documentation is on that. The only other thing I would say around parking, remove the borough parking signs from Marshall Street. I don't think anybody in the borough is using it. And I think they're also over by Liberty. I think there's 2 for the water. Just remove those. Yeah, I'm talking about right alongside of the savings and loan. There's 2 designated borough parking spots there, and I believe there's 2 over by Liberty. That might get you 4 parking spots
The
with no.
2 by Liberty Place are for Chester Water Authority people.
Okay,
going
are
to pay
they
their-
in that building?
Yes, to
Okay.
go in and pay their bill.
Okay, then back onto that same comment. I did do the research. It's a 10-year repeatable lease with the Bosleys. They pay no taxes on that property. They pay $14,000 annually for the lease of that lot. I've submitted that to Chester County. They're supposed to be coming back. I would just also ask that the borough goes through its exempt properties, flip them to non-exempt and start collecting revenue on them. If you have any long-term leases, and since that Liberty has been there 30 years, in the view of Chester County, that's considered a long-term lifetime lease. So they should have been paying taxes since that building was using it. So that's money on the table, guys. I said it last time. Now it's even more important. And you got to go into the actual deeds where it states this. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments and suggestions. Kyle, could we ask you as a follow-up with staff and Mike on the 120 Marshall Street, just to find out when, how, and where, and whether that was approved formally or not? I think that's a fair question. It deserves an answer. And it sounds like there are some parking signs that are old and need to be removed. Is that fair, Rob? Kyle? I think that's a fair comment. Thank you, Troy.
We'll follow up next meeting.
Your name and your reason for being here as it relates to Kennett Square.
Good evening. My name is Collis Townsend. I'm here representing the Kennett Library, 216 West State. The good news is I'm not here to ask for money. The good news is I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here tonight simply to thank the Borough of Kennett Square for all your support of the library, both operating support, which you provide on an annual basis, as well as the capital support that was so important to making the campaign work. Bob, you and Matt were on our campaign cabinet. We did a great job. We are going to end the end of this year debt-free. So that's all paid off, and that's the good news. Kyle, I'd also like to acknowledge your work, all these stupid RACP grants. I don't know how your team keeps track of it, but I want to thank you for it. Yeah, we get fast turnaround. These things come up. You got a day to respond to them, and your team always does a great job. So I'm here just to express my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very kind. Any other public comment? No. Oh, good darn. I'm kidding you. I'm kidding you.
Just giving me a check.
Very quickly, I'd just like to say that I agree with Charlotte and all in that we do need, and I don't know why we're not, we need a drugstore in this town. We need some of these better. Growing up here, we had everything in this town. And council fought the Magnolia Place. It was supposed to be a shopping center too, but they fought it. Then it resulted in New Garden coming in. So we've lost. We had three grocery stores, everything. We had everything in this town. Now we have hobby shops, everything. Now we have hardly anything. Restaurants. Well, that's good. Restaurants are good, but we need drugstores, clothing stores people could afford, stuff like that. And we need to promote that. You guys got to go out and find some of this stuff and bring them in. Not just worry about this stuff, but try to bring in a drugstore or something in here. So.
Hi, Bill Grubb, 610 West Linden. Do you have a historic designation, do we not? Kennett Square has a historic designation. I saw nothing in this that pertains to any part of the historic district. Why isn't there in there?
That was looked at by the group or not?
Well, where is the historic district? Is it Linden Street going backwards? Is it State Street coming forwards? Where is the historic district? Because none of this is all commercial district.
Some of these are within the historic. I'm not sure your point, what it.
Well, I think we're losing our focus that we have a historic district.
Okay.
That's what I'm driving at right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
There you go. Excuse my back, but I number one, her historic district was from Willow to Center in Kennett Square. That's the historic district. The other historic is Linden Street. But that's all been gone out with the wash a long time ago. When you got rid of Harb and all that stuff, that's why it was in place.
Harb?
Excuse me, there's another thing that was gotten rid of, not Harb, but there was something else. And that was all because of the historic district, those two entities. I want to say that also that came out through history was that we keep on talking about those two blocks. But years ago, when Kenny Roberts and them were talking about the two blocks, the other businesses got together and came up under the acronym of MIST, M-I-S-S-E-D. Because there's so much concentration uptown, they weren't worried it's Cliff Scarlett, Bud DeFeo, all those folks, Thatchers. They got together and said, there's more businesses in this town than them two uptown. And remember, they're only feeding people up there. If you go down right across the street here at Union, and I'm going to say Spanish for no other reason, because that's probably 100% Spanish proprietors that right there. They have a healthy economy and business. You never even speak of it, and that seems biased. I told you there's a butcher shop down on Magnolia. Never heard you talk about that. There's Wawa, and now we got 2 gas stations, but you're still talking about uptown. You better wake up and smell the coffee. You got the inside in control because you got outsiders coming in here running us. Collaborative. That's a semi-quasi-government squeezing out citizens. You better get with the program. And one day you're going to really make the mistake. Well, not one day, you already made it. And somebody's going to challenge you the right way. That parking lot should only be the beginning.
Sandy D'Antonio, 220 North Broad Street. Just 2 things. One, we do have a pharmacy at LCH, and I'm not sure if it's in Kennett or West Grove. I'm not sure, but anyway, just want to clarify that. The other day, I had to go to a funeral, unfortunately. So there is no parking if you can't get in the lot. There's very little parking. So I noticed down by the new apartments that there's no metered parking or permit parking. And since the borough needs income, I was wondering why there isn't any meters down there. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Yes. One last thing about the revitalization project. The 5 plans, ideas on the plan do not represent the highest and best use of funding to do the most for the most people, not for the citizenry or the State Street merchants. I ask that we have direct representation from the merchants and the citizens on that committee, and that these folks do not have ties with any of the current stakeholders. With respect to the current stakeholders, no direct input was obtained from the folks who work in these businesses nor the citizens in the selection of the consulting committee or any of the ideas that were proposed. So if this moves forward, my proposal is that there's at least 1 representative of the citizens and 1 representative of the merchants.
Thank you. Wednesday's meeting, key topics will be on this building, this property, 600 South Broad Street, and 120 North Broad, the former police station. Please come on out, 7 o'clock Wednesday evening, if you're able to, or if not, Zoom in to us. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
We're done. Thank you very much for coming out. We're